Welcome to the Burned Out Preacher podcast, where we have frank discussions weekly on ministry struggles and how many of us in the ministry have gone from overwhelmed and exhausted to calm and equipped leaders who love being in ministry. I am your host, Monique Addison-Stinson, burnout prevention coach for ministry leaders. Are you ready to overcome burnout? If your answer is yes, then keep listening. Hello and welcome back to the Burned Out Preacher podcast. I am your host, Monique Addison-Stinson, burnout prevention coach for ministry leaders, and I help ministry leaders go from overwhelmed and exhausted to calm and equipped leaders who actually love being in ministry. And we are continuing our series called It Is Time to Talk About Ministry Burnout. It's time. It's past time, actually. And today I have a celebrity. I have a celebrity who is joining me. And the reason why I say that is because you may know him when you see him. I don't know. But if you caught the first episode, you heard and saw his wife, Minister Grayheart. And she said, and I quote, "He was daddy of the century." Not the decade, not the month, but the century. So, sir, can you please introduce yourself?
Awesome. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Devon Grayheart. I am a minister on staff at Allen Chapel AME. I have been a minister. I've been preaching since I was 11 years old. I accepted my calling at that time. It was interesting. My father in the ministry, my pastor at that time came to me and says, "Hey, you're going to be our speaker for Fourth Sunday." It was, what? Okay. And he's like, "No, God laid it on my heart." And I remember preaching that first sermon.
You were 11?
11. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. The most I remember about it is at the end, I didn't know how to finish it. And I was so full and overwhelmed that I just stood there for a while. And
wow.
my pastor came and was like, "Okay, I think you're done." I was, yes, thank you for that.
Amen. You know, the amens get louder.
Let the Lord use you. But so, but oh my God.
That's hilarious.
It was.
Wow.
And so I've been preaching since I was 11 years old. When I turned 18, I won't tell you no jokes or pull no punches with you. I thought I was grown and I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And so I ain't doing this church thing. I'm out of here. And so I did that for about 5 minutes. And it's so funny because I was a part of a male chorus. And my pastor said, "I want you to stay in this male chorus." And so I wasn't in the church. I ain't got nothing to do with this, but I would still go sing every time the male chorus sung. Anytime they went somewhere and sang, I would sing with them. And what would happen is that I would be singing and then I would come to, and it was like, "What happened?" It's like, "Oh, yeah, brother, you, it was me." So Holy Spirit will fall and fall on me. And I had to give in at that point. So after about a couple of years, I was like, all right, let me know what I grew up in the church.
Wow.
Thanks be to God, to my grandmother. In the AME church, I've held so many positions in the young people's department, anywhere from the local president up to I was on the conference branch level and served as a worship leader on that level.
You are a celebrity.
No, I'm just little old me. But yeah, like you said, Bree Grayheart, that is my wife that was gracious enough that when Holy Spirit led me to leave my hometown of Fort Lauderdale, which was born and raised in Broward County, and the Holy Spirit said, "Okay, it's time to go." And she followed the Holy Spirit and followed me all the way to Pensacola.
Bless her heart.
About 6, 7 months after we got married. We hadn't even made it the first year of marriage yet.
Wow, she loved you.
Oh, wow. In every sense of the word. We got married in
From Lauderdale to come
2010.
here? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. February of 2010, we got married. September of 2010, I was already here. I was here. I came here with a good friend of mine at the time and applied for some jobs and went back home, and Target called me and was like, hey, we know that you're not in town, but we'd like to offer you a job. And if you're coming back to relocate, we'd love to have you. I was like, okay. And blink your eyes, and here we are almost 12 years later.
Wow.
And God has done some amazing things in that time frame.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my goodness. So since I've been in church all my life as well. When I grew up, so I was born in Brooklyn. I always tell people I was bred in Brooklyn and buttered in Pensacola.
Where Brooklyn at?
And so my mom was from here, from Pensacola. My dad was from Tela, Honduras. They met in in Brooklyn, married. And then when my mom became pregnant, she was like, I am not raising my baby in Brooklyn. I want to go back home. So they moved to Pensacola. And as a little girl, we lived in the hood, okay? And it was popping every day, like drunks on the corner, everybody's hanging out. But on Sunday, it was a ghost town. And I was like, Mama, where is everybody? And she said, they're probably in church. I said, well, I want to go to church. Everybody, I want to go there.
Wow.
And so we went to church the next Sunday. Well, she tried to drop me off. I was like, no, ma'am, you got to stay. So she stayed, and we've been in church ever since. And like you, held many, many, many positions in church, and it's been a wild ride. A wild ride. But over here on the Burnout Preacher podcast, we talk about burnout. So I am interested to hear how would you define ministry burnout?
When I define that term, I really feel that it is a point where a ministry leader or someone in ministry gets to that moment where it's like, I can't go on anymore. I don't have anything left to give.
In there.
And that's it. I'm tapped out. As much as I want to go on, as much as I have the urging to continue, I just don't have it.
Yeah.
I don't have it to give.
Yeah, that's a good one. I have been there.
Because
I might be there right now. But
it's that way. It's that way, because oftentimes, we never think of, I know for myself, how could I, this is what I do.
Right.
This is what I was made to do. There's no, I can't, that's just impossible. I'm not going to be burned out from this. No, not me. But we don't think that because we don't look at it as, we take ourselves out of the category of being human.
Yep.
And we put ourselves somewhere else. I don't know where.
We think we God.
For just a split second, we're like, you know what? I think, here we go.
I create all this.
I can do this.
Right.
I can do this.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I love that so much, because that is so true. I have been there. So I would like for you, if you don't mind, because when we spoke to Brianna, or Bree, excuse me, she said she likes to be known as Bree. So when we spoke to Bree, she shared with us her bout with postpartum depression. And first of all, in church, we rarely talk about anything. it's supposed to be all rainbows and, plum drops and everybody's happy. So we rarely talk about the struggles that we deal with in the church as humans in the church.
Absolutely.
And Brianna was open to share her experience with postpartum depression. And not only is postpartum rarely shared in the church, or probably never, it's definitely rarely shared amongst people of color. And what's even more rare is to hear from the husband of the wife who's been dealing with postpartum. So if you don't mind, could you tell us what were you dealing with, seeing your wife struggle, not really understanding what was going on? She did say you were daddy of the century, so apparently you figured it out. But but how were you feeling when she was going through that?
In the beginning, and for quite some time, you mentioned not knowing what to do. And so for a bit, I felt helpless. I didn't really know. I was stuck in between, well, I don't want to say something that's not the right thing to say, and I don't want to not say something.
Right.
And so for a very long time, I kind of sat in this unknown territory of, what do I say?
Right.
How do I help this situation? I can clearly see what's going on. I understand something is wrong, but how do I? And so the best thing I knew to do was, my mind said, take all the pressure off that you can. That's what I heard. Take all of the pressure off of your wife that you can. And that was my plan from the beginning, from the very beginning, when I found out somewhere on Facebook, there is a video of me when I found out. And I was just as ecstatic then as I was when she got here, and more and more. And so from the very beginning, it was, no, I prayed for this child. Right. And I remember telling my sister that one time, I prayed for this child. And so I don't care what time of the night I have to get up. I don't care how much sleep I have or have not had, I'm there. And so from the very beginning, hey, give me all the night feedings. And there was times where at the time I was driving for Lyft and Uber. And so if anybody's ever driven for Lyft and Uber, the money is early in the morning, late at night. And so a lot of times I'll be gone late in the evening. And I can't even remember how many times I'd walk through the door and it's like midnight, 1, and it's like Dee Dee knew, and she's like, ah. And so I go straight to her room, and let's go. And I was ready for that. But so I had already had myself tuned in to be that dad, and it had nothing to do with me trying to be anything. I just wanted to be there for my daughter. That was it. And when I saw my wife in the situation she was in, I really felt helpless. And like I said, the only thing I knew to do was, do as much as you can. As much as you can, whatever you can do, do it. And I really tried to do all that I could do. And there was even times where I think I bid too much. That, I think I really, I can almost hear Bree say, oh my God, like, hello, I'm the mom too. But it wasn't that I wanted to take over and be mom and dad. Right. I saw her, and I really, really, really wanted to be there for her. And again, I kind of walked on eggshells. I didn't want to say anything that was going to tip the scales in one way or the other. And so whatever I was dealing with, because I was tired, I was, still trying to figure out. It might have looked that way to her, and oh my God, God bless her for saying that I was father of the century. It looked like that to her, but to me, I was struggling. I was like, what do you do with this little person?
I know.
That I don't know what you want and you can't tell me.
And all they do,
yeah. And And so literally it was try everything until she stops.
Right.
Are you changed? Go, let's do that. Are you hungry? Let's do that. Are you
Right.
sleepy? Do it just hold you? Let's do all of this until one of these things stick.
Right.
And so I really, that was a thing that I really felt like I needed to do. And, there was a couple of times where I tried to get her and say, hey, babe, what do you, I never asked the question, what do you need? But it was more so, hey, if you want to, go do this. God knows, I wish I would have asked the question, what do you need?
Yeah.
I wish I would have linked myself and been in tune to ask, what do you need? But all I knew to do is say, hey, it's fine. I have the baby. You can do whatever you want to do. And when that was nothing, it was like, well, I don't know what to do. And I literally, I kept plugging and plugging and plugging. And again, the best thing I saw that was helping is that, well, if I can help you get some more sleep, if I can be there, when I start training to be a bus driver, if I can come in on the break from training and snap right back into daddy duty and take the baby and I can feed her, maybe that will give you an opportunity to reset your mind. Maybe that'll give you a chance to feel better.
That's perfect though. And you said you wish you could have asked, what do you need? But I feel like you heard her even without asking. I feel just from listening to what you were doing, it sounds like you heard her, like your heart heard her heart. That's what it sounds like. That's why you daddy of the century. That is exactly why. That is awesome. Like, seriously, you did good job. Good job. And with all of that, with you doing all of that, you were still active in church. And you mentioned you were tired too. It looked like you were okay, but you said you were tired too. So talk to me about that. So you're still, you're seeing your wife deal with postpartum, and you two are both active in church. And I think, did you have it? You had a church.
We're
You were pastor
pastoring
of a church. Yeah.
Yes.
How was that?
We are at that time. We're pastoring 2 churches.
Oh my goodness.
We're pastoring 2 churches.
Were they both an hour or more away?
Yes. Well, not from each other, but from our home.
From here. Wow.
So both of them were an hour and some change from our home. And there was time, so we are having a baby. We're purchasing a home. And we're pastoring 2 churches.
You just had all the stress.
And there was a time I go, God, what am I doing? What was I thinking? What is wrong with me as to why I would do this? But it was, thank God for the people that he sent us to shepherd. Because those people, hands down, were very, no.
Oh,
You guys need to rest. Don't worry about us. They said we were in a quarterly conference, and one of the older members went to the elder and said, "Listen, our first lady is pregnant. Her feet are swollen. Her feet hurt. They need to get home and get off the road." And the elder was like, "Okay."
wow.
I was in the restroom. I came out and the elder said, "Hey, we're not going to have the quarter." I was like, "What? Who made this decision? I was not here." He's like, "No, your members explained it to me, and that's it." And literally, that was it.
That's sweet.
Thank God.
Yeah.
The people that we were leading that was there to say, "No, Pastor, we're going to be selfless. As much as we want you to be here for us, we'll still be selfless." But at the same time, it was not until I became a pastor, and it was literally the night my name was called for an appointment. it turned on that, whoa, I have other people that I'm responsible for. There are souls, you understand?
Yeah.
That I'm now responsible for. And so, no, out of all of that, I still would wake up in the middle of the night and have them on my heart. I would wake up and pray for someone. I had no idea why I was praying.
Yeah.
I would, still be trying to reach out and call and talk to folks. And we were still doing things a part of the ministry, still trying to have programs and still trying to get programs ready and still wanting to have services. And it was challenging.
So this was during the pregnancy. You're traveling over an hour away, pastoring 2 churches.
Yes. I can envision right now, I can envision Bree walking into one of those churches and the sister say, "Oh, look at you. You're good and pregnant now." Because the first church, we had been pastoring there 2 years before, a year and a half, 2 years before we got pregnant.
Wow.
And so it was right after we got the second church added on.
Wow.
That, ta-da.
Wow. I didn't realize that at all. Man. So when you were going through that, you said that, as you mentioned, those were souls. Like you have your family, and then you have the other families.
Right.
That their souls, as you mentioned, that you're responsible for. Do you feel like you recovered? Like how did you recover from all of that stress? Or do you feel like you're still kind of working it out or working through it?
I think for myself, I'm the type of person that I work through it. It's gonna sound so bizarre, but when I can get my hands into something, I can work through it. When I've dealt with situations and been in tough situations, when I can be there for someone else, God gives me the answer to my issues in that moment. And so it was challenging in one hand, and in the other hand, it was the key to what I need. And recovering from that was a process of spending time with myself. I had to learn how to do that. I had to, because I've never been that person.
Mm-hmm.
Although I have siblings, but I was the oops baby. So my sister is 13 years my senior.
God, yeah, you were the oops baby.
Yes, I have another sister, on my dad's side that's like maybe 20 years.
Oh wow, yeah.
My dad was 50 years old when he conceived me. When he and my mom conceived me. My dad's 85. He's 85 this year. And so I grew up like an only child.
Yeah.
But I've always I love people, and I've always wanted to be around. And I had to learn to take time for myself. And I had to learn that was not a selfish thing. Because I always looked at that's selfish. If I do that, then I'm going to be selfish. That's not right. I can't do that. And even from my daughter and my wife, that's selfish. Devon, you got to keep giving of yourself. And that was how I recovered.
Yeah.
Actually taking time and going to a quiet place. I like to be in a quiet place. I'm the person that I can drive from here to Atlanta and not play one song.
Okay, I can't do that.
I'm a quiet person. I enjoy. I don't know. My mom, God bless her soul, she called me weird.
That's a little weird.
Yes, But I am. And Bree will tell you, I don't have to have the music. I don't have to have anything playing.
Yeah.
And so I took those moments to say, okay, hey, you can do this.
Yeah.
You can get through this, and you need to be strong for your family.
Exactly. And the way that you be strong is you have to give in, you have to pour into yourself so then you can give. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can pour, but ain't nothing coming out.
Right. Absolutely.
And I'm so happy you said that, because you guys have always been active in church. Always.
Yes.
You're active now. And, I see you guys and I'm like, man, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it. But you do have to be strategic about self-care and adding that time, if not to your calendar, or have a day or at least a couple of hours out of the week, if not every day, but to give to yourself. So is that what you do now? Do you currently do that so you can prevent burnout? Because like I said, you guys are still active in church. So do you still make sure that you pour into yourself so that you don't burn out?
Yes. So back then, Mondays became our day.
Yeah.
Monday became our day. And even we would say, everyone else, they get to the weekend and they're like, it's the weekend. And it's like, no, we get to the weekend, we're going to work. Like, that's
for
when we
church
clock back
people,
in.
right? For church people,
yes. No, that's when we work the hardest, right. Almost.
Exactly.
Mondays became our days.
Good.
That we would do nothing, or we would find that thing. And that's another thing that I would say that I learned, to find that thing that I was interested in, and take part in that. I love wildlife. I love animals. I love all animals. And so I got back into my aquarium hobby. And by doing that, I watched hours of YouTube videos on Mondays. And we watch those videos, and it would put me at a place of peace.
Nice.
Because I was able to say to myself, oh yeah, I want to do that. Yeah, I remember doing that. Because I've had almost every animal in my childhood. I've had rabbits and frogs and dogs and hermit crabs and fish.
Okay, you are weird.
You know what? I think
you are weird.
I am. I embrace that. Look, my mom called me that, and so I have no problem.
I know. I'm told I'm weird too. So I get it.
Mom was like, "You are so weird. What is wrong with you, child?" But that became my happy place.
Right.
That was my happy place, and I realized then what that was.
Good.
Because it was never in. I don't want to jump the gun, right? But it was never. It wasn't preaching, right? Like, it wasn't, there was a Sunday I can remember that I preached 3 times that Sunday. I remember I preached 3 times that Sunday. It wasn't that. That wasn't the issue. Like that, that's fine. Let's go. Like a football player hits the field. Let's go. I'm ready. Right. We're going to go. It was not having to go to services and do services. It was those moments when I felt like I was being torn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do I say no to stay home with you, or do I say yes because this is what God called me to do? And that is where it was like, you know what? I don't know where to give.
Yeah.
Because I'm tired of being torn this way.
Yeah.
Because I have not found the balance and have not found the ability to say, no, not this time, because I have XYZ. And to set those things up even with my wife to say, hey, no, I have time
Boundaries.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I teach on boundaries. I tell you, I remember in church, I was telling in an episode, I was literally at church every day, like every day of the week. I was at church. And I remember when I just come out of being burned out and was setting some boundaries. And I told a first lady of our church years ago, no. And she was like, what?
How dare you?
God, no. I said, no, I'm telling you no. God didn't tell me to do that anyway. So no. And she was just shocked. But I felt so good. And I felt at peace because it wasn't what I was supposed to be doing anyway. They were just trying to get, you know how they do in church. They're just trying to get people, just anybody who can do whatever. Let's just get them, whether it's their ministry or not. We just need a body to fill this particular task. And it felt so good to say no. And I've been saying no ever since. If it's not what I'm called to do, or if it's going to cause me to be away from my family, it's a no for me. It's a hard no.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm so happy you've learned that. And I'm teaching Bree to do the same thing. She's getting better.
It's a process.
Yeah.
Because even, with myself, it's the no, it's far away, right? It's back there, but it's there, and it can come out, especially when I know that, I need to protect my family.
Yep.
Because one day God said to me, you're not only the protector of your wife physically, but you have to protect her emotionally.
Yeah.
You have to protect her spiritually. You have to protect her mentally. And so when I was like, boom, thank you.
Absolutely.
And so when it crosses that line, I'm quick to that.
It's a hard no.
But it is, and it has to be, and you can't feel bad for those things.
Right.
Because God is God. And if it was assigned to you, God would make sure that it's in your ramification. Exactly. Not to say that we never have to sacrifice for God.
Right, absolutely. Because you do.
But God cares enough. I believe that the God that I choose to serve loves me enough and cares for me enough that he does not want to see me torn between my family that he gave me and the ministry.
The family he gave you to protect as well.
Hello. Absolutely. Absolutely. The one that he put me in charge of, the head of, he would not want me to have to be sitting in the pulpit going, oh man, did I make the right decision? Right. And
that's so true. That is so true. Because you're supposed to be the minister of your house first.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's in the book that
I'm just saying.
It's in there.
It's in there.
In there that let the elder first be a good ruler of his own home.
Exactly. So if you ain't at home,
you can't. And I'm gonna be honest to God truth. You cannot lead other people if you are not leading at home.
Exactly.
You can't lead your home if you're not first a leader to yourself.
That's right. Come on now.
I had to learn that. I literally, the first year, God, it was, let's go. And I realized very quickly, whoa.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I need to get that in check. Because what it is, it's a mirror in front of you to show you.
Exactly.
And so I had to get things in check.
Yep.
With myself, in my household, before I could go out and tell this group of people that I'm now responsible for,
right,
before I can lead you, I had to get all this other stuff right first.
Exactly. That is so good. I want to ask you though, and I had in my last episode, I spoke with Reverend Terrace Broughton Robinson.
The Reverend,
The Reverend Terrace Broughton Robinson. Okay. MD. All right. Itinerant elder of the African Methodist Episcopal Church.
Hello.
So I talked to her and I was asking her about new pastors and going through, because I remember when I was going through, I didn't go to seminary, but when I was going through the Ministerial Institute, it was all about preaching and delivering a sermon. Maybe some Bible teaching. Nothing about pastoring. And nothing about mental wellness or burnout prevention, none of that. I feel like they're doing a disservice by not doing some of that teaching when you're a new minister and before you're assigned to a church. I feel like there should be some teaching or some type of preparation for how to be a pastor and how to prevent burnout. What are your thoughts on that?
I can agree wholeheartedly that perhaps the church as a whole, not even a particular denomination, but the Church of Christ as a whole has dropped the ball when it comes to teaching how to lead people.
Right.
And then how to then therefore go and not get burned out and not reach those points.
Yeah.
And it should be something that we should spend a great deal of time with. But unfortunately, it seems like in ministry, it's OJT.
Yep.
I learn it all when you get here.
Exactly.
And, they depend on, and in seminary, there are some classes on pastoral care. And so, but not in depth. I feel that, the church itself should be sitting it down saying, hey, this is what you may face.
Yeah.
As a school bus driver, I spent a great deal of time in class, not only learning how to drive the bus, but learning how to deal with children. And even now, there are classes that we're always having to go to in order to continue to learn how to deal with children.
And see, that's what they should get in ministerial or seminary school.
Yes.
That's exactly what you should get, because it changes.
If you're in the ministry, you should be getting those type of courses, where regardless of what your credentials are,
right,
regardless of where you stand in the process, you should be getting education on how to recognize these symptoms in yourself, how to recognize it in someone else, and how to deal with it.
How to deal with it, and how to prevent it.
Yes.
How to prevent it. How to overcome it, how to prevent it, and just how to lead people. I mean, all right, so we lost Devon for a minute, but we're back.
Right. Oh my God.
So we were talking about the Ministerial Institute and seminary, and how if there was some type of training, and hopefully somebody will see this and try to revamp the curriculum a bit and include some sort of training for, people training, how to be a pastor, how to hire people. Because I feel like all of that is one of the reasons that pastors are struggling with burnout. Absolutely. And ministry leaders, because they don't know how to do all this stuff. Right. And I mentioned I can't remember, I got to find this study, but there was this study where this guy said that the pastoral profession or pastors have the same health struggles that white CEOs have. I mean, the same health challenge, the heart attack, the stroke, the diabetes, all of it is, stress is like the root cause. And burnout actually is the root cause, because burnout is stress that hasn't been managed. So I mean, yeah, I mean, we need to do some of that, which is why God called me to do this, because I'm really trying to create a dialogue and hopefully a community where pastors can have a resource to come and be trained and understand how to actually be a pastor and help people and employ people. And hire, in my past, my last episode, I was talking about hiring Sister Lula Mae Bell to be your admin assistant. And Sister Lula Mae she don't even know how to use a computer. Those kind of things can lead to burnout because now you got to be your own admin, but you won't fire Miss Lula Bell. You'll need to fire her, but at least find the ministry that she's good at and move her to that ministry.
Right.
Just simple things like that. But I really hope someone at Payne Theological Seminary, any of those seminaries will watch this and be like, you know what, maybe we need to revamp our curriculum. Maybe we need to include some type of burnout prevention tactics and strategies for new pastors to use, so that when they become tenured pastors, they won't deal with the same health issues that come from burnout. The health statistics are staggering. I mean, it's staggering. So, but that's all that I had. Did you have anything else you want to say about burnout prevention?
I will say this, and I find it interesting. I was even thinking about it today, thinking about this podcast. And like I said, I was in the ministry at 11. And I will never forget my father in the ministry, who's retired now, Reverend Dr. Robert Shaw. I'll never forget, I was about 12, maybe 13 at the time. And I had been preaching quite a few places at that point. I had been, to Ocala, I'd been to Georgia, I'd been up and down the coast in South Florida. I had covered some ground. And so this church called and said, we want him to come and do a revival. We've got to have it. He's got to come and do a revival. And he said no. And ironically enough, I said to myself, I'm about to talk about ministry burnout. And his reasoning behind saying no is, I don't want him to get burned out.
Wow. Now that's a good father.
I don't want him to get burned out. At the time, and Dr. Shaw, if you watch this, I'm going to be real with you. I was so mad.
I bet.
Angry. I was like, really? I want a revival? What? Anybody knows me, I love to preach. I love to preach.
Right.
It is a part of who I am. And so when he said, and he told me, he sat down with my grandmother's like, yeah, this church, they wanted to come do a revival, but I told them no. And I was like, what? You can do that? How can you do that? You can't do that. You can't do that to me. And I was mad. I was mad. And it was not until now, 20-something odd years later, that I understand and appreciate what he kept me from. Because God knows where I would have been now.
Right.
Had I ran that revival. It was like a 3-night revival. See? And had I went and ran that revival, he could see. Here's a man before his time, right? Trying to get pastors to understand this. And he knew it back then in the early 2000s. In the early 2000s, he's like, no, you're going to get burned.
I need to talk to him.
Yes. I mean, that man, I was like, wow. And this is, I'm telling you, and I had preached at a lot of different churches. So I still couldn't understand, like, what do you mean? I just preached at Space Temple the other night and then the other day. And it was like, no.
Yeah.
No. And
that is so rare, because and I hate to say this, but a lot of times it becomes this competition.
Yes.
among pastors.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah.
And that is another reason a lot of pastors burn out. They just want to keep preaching and preaching and preaching. I remember being at, I was at Zion Hope here in Pensacola, and it was a Seven Last Sayings. And, you know, usually at Seven Last Sayings, you have 7 preachers, right?
Right.
And it all, I hate to say this, but a lot of times you can kind of sense when the preacher trying to out preach the preacher before them, right? And this one pastor got up and preached. It was finished.
I love it.
Listen, it was finished at that point. I mean, everyone was on the floor. I mean, he was a young preacher. An elder preacher got up right behind him and was just like I can imagine him being just like the preacher that you're talking about, your father in ministry. This preacher, instead of trying to outdo this preacher before him, he was like, there is nothing else to be said, but we're gonna move on to the benediction. Because it was finished, like done. There was no need to continue. And he did not try to outdo this pastor. And I was like, see, it's something to be said about seasoned pastors.
Yes. Yes.
You know, kind of like when you grow up and you hear that the older people will say, you're gonna understand it by and by, baby. It's one of those moments.
How true are those words?
Right.
That you really will understand by and by. Or as my stepfather used to say, keep saying good morning, son. Keep saying good morning.
Yeah.
And you know, we're talking about burnout, and I think about, so in the second year that we're pastoring, we were at annual conference, getting ready to go into the second church conference year. And we go through this amazing church final service, and we go back to the hotel room, and I wake up September, and I think it was the 4th, 2nd, and I get this phone call that my mom is dead. And the news floors me.
Yeah.
Because the night before we're at this high level of service. And the preacher, I'll never forget, he preaches on launch out into the deep. And that morning, the phone rings, and my grandmother's like, your mom's gone. And I thought I processed it in that moment, like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, mom's gone. It was Saturday morning. I knew church was the next Sunday. I was like, my people need me. This is first Sunday. Let's go. And I'm not saying that to be braggadocious, right? But what I'm saying is that had I not had people around me that were saying, Devon, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Your mother just died.
Yeah.
And I was like, mom's gone. Like, I need, these people are here and they need their pastor. And my wife is like, I don't think you should do that. I really think you should go be with your family. And I'm like, no. And so she rallies other people to say, can you talk some sense into this man? And so my pastor is like, no, man. No. There's so many other people that you can call. Yep. And they can go fill in for you. Like, do you understand what just happened? But here I am, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Like I told you, like that's one of my coping mechanisms, if you will.
Right.
I work harder. And I was going to burn myself out right there. I was going to burn myself out right there.
Yep.
Not going, and we left the hotel and we drove down to South Florida, and I'm the baby again, but my brothers and sisters were looking to me to be the strong one.
Yep.
Because they know
Yep.
the relationship that I have with God.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we need you. We walked through the door and my sister came and grabbed me and she cried, and everybody, like when we walked in, everybody's like, yeah, they're here. Great. It's all, everything's gonna be fine now. And I was like, y'all don't even understand. I left my people, but I was getting ready to burn myself out.
Yeah.
Today, 2017, the Devon then wouldn't have told you that, because I did not realize today.
Right.
I know for a fact I would have burnt myself out.
Yep.
Because I would not have processed what had just happened in my life.
Exactly. That's exactly right. I know.
You know, look, I remember when we went into ministry, my pastor said, don't go and try to just give everything. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm going to go be effective. That was and that still is my ministry goal. I want to be effective.
Right.
I don't care about the largest congregation. I don't care about the pats on the back, the accolades. I don't care. I want to be effective, that someone at the end of the day cannot go through some of the things I went through. Someone can find themselves about to be burned out and say, wait, no. Because we should be telling our people that.
Exactly. And we don't. They
should be knowing, hey, don't get burned out in ministry. Don't come here because you're the only person that's going to make the programs, and you're the only person that's going to print the copies, and you're the only person that's going to sign the checks, and you're the only person that's going to find somebody to clean the church. Don't get burned out. We as ministry leaders should be preaching that to our people.
We should, but unfortunately,
no, right?
They need me to tell them that they're burned out so that they can pass on the message, how to not be burned out.
But you need it, because in the moment you don't feel like you are. I can attest to that. In the moment you feel like you have the strength of 100 men and women.
Yeah, because that adrenaline kicks in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, no, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And it's not until everybody's gone. It's not until it's the end of the night. It's not until, and you're like,
yep.
What am I going to do?
Right. Or unfortunately, with some people, they end up in the hospital bed.
Right. Absolutely.
End up in the hospital bed, and they're like, oh.
And even still, I know some pastors that still, that's not enough. They're like, no, I'll be all right.
Yeah,
I need to go. And it's not that. And I really think a lot of pastors feel like I'm letting God down. And
they're not.
You're not.
They're not.
I've been saying for a while now, probably a good part of this year and a little bit of last year, God cannot be duped.
Right.
He's God. Like,
God, right.
We can't get one over on him. There's never going to be a time where it's going to be like, God's like, oh my God, thanks, Monique. You figured something out that I had forgot. Or you got that thing that, you know what, I didn't think you were going to be able to do it. You did it.
Exactly.
God. On the other end, he's like, hello, stop. He's sending signs all the time. Hey,
all the time.
Rest. Literally, the Bible says that he makes us to lie down. There's so many passages that talk about rest. Come unto me, all that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. The Bible talks about it. But why we don't think we need it blows my mind.
Right.
And I can say that because I'm in the rest. I'm fine. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. I'm going to preach this morning. I'm going to preach in the afternoon. I'm going to come and preach in the PM. And then I'm going to go home and I'm going to do all the stuff for the family. And I'm going to be good.
Exactly.
And so one day I'm not.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're lucky, you'll still be here to recognize that you need to change. Some people don't. I've went to many funerals of people who they didn't get it until it was, I'm talking about pastors.
Yes.
Who didn't get it. And they're no longer here because your body will sit you down. They're like, okay, you're not gonna sit down. I'm gonna sit us down.
Yeah. We just shut down right here.
Yeah. We need to shut it all down right now. So thank you for sharing that. So if you guys have not heard Minister Devon preach, you need to. That's all I'm gonna say. You need to hear him. You need to hear him. But we're right at an hour, and I am going to wrap it up. I have enjoyed this so much. I hope you can come back on.
Yes.
I know you have boundaries, but if you can carve out a little time to come back on, I'd appreciate it. But where can people find you?
Oh my goodness.
I know you're on Instagram.
I am on Instagram and as DD_dad, because I said when I had my daughter, I would change my name to DD's dad. Aww. And so I am DD's DDS_dad.
Gotcha.
And then I was doing TikTok videos for a minute about bus driver stuff. And every now and again, I would throw in something encouraging just because I'm always led to do that. I mean, even randomly on my social media, I'm like, hey, I tell my students on the bus, hey, I try to encourage people because we need it. Yeah. All of us. I've been at times where I've needed that hug and didn't get it.
Same. Especially people like us, because people depend on us to do everything for them or to be that shoulder that they can cry on. And they forget that the person that's there for everybody needs somebody to be there for them too.
Yes.
And they forget that.
Yes.
Yeah. So I get it. I get it. Well, listen, that's all I have. Thank you, Minister Devon Grayheart. I appreciate you so much. Now, are you accepting followers? Do you want me to add?
Sure. Okay. My page is private. I am public, like, Miss Bree, that's just my page is private, but I do accept new followers.
Okay.
I do. And I love, some new followers, but thank you for having me and giving me the opportunity to share a little bit about the things that I've been through and dealt with. I really appreciate this space and this time. And this was awesome.
Thank you. Well, that is all. And we will see you next time. Bye, everyone. Bye.